Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ready when you are.
Yeah.
Okay. So, my name is Tom Virtue. I'm 30 years old, male, general manager of Virtuous Produce in Washington Township. And I grew up here in Washington Township from about 5 years old, and I still live in town.
Okay. What would you consider a typical family dinner?
Typical family dinner for me would probably be my dad, my mom, and my brothers and sisters all sitting down for a nice quiet little dinner, usually between 5 or 7 or whatever all of us got done work.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the impact of technology?
Impacts of technology now have definitely made it a lot easier to get in trouble. There's a lot of stuff going on. A lot easier to communicate with people in general around. Also easier to, reach your customer base from just a marketing standpoint. But it's generally made life a lot safer and increased the average life expectancy, I would imagine, of most people.
What would you consider the typical age of marriage?
It's a lot different now than it used to be. Probably mostly because people that were a lot older than us today are typically more mature by my age, or from 18 on. I'd say typical marriage age now would probably be between 26 and 30 would be the average.
Okay. What would you feed a child? Like if you had kids, what type of foods would you feed?
What type of foods would I feed my children?
Yeah, organic type stuff.
Well, I mean, organic wasn't a priority as it was today when you think about all the studies that have been doing and how kids are getting sick and what actually forms cancers, what forms diseases in the brain and other stuff. I mean, now it's such a crucial thing to make sure your kids are eating good stuff that's healthy and not toxic for them. But I mean, it probably wasn't that way 20 or 40 years ago. I think even maybe 6 years ago, it was just important just to feed your kids anything.
How are you raised compared to how kids are right now?
Well, we didn't have cell phones and stuff like that until I was probably in 8th grade, even though maybe a couple of kids had them when I was a little younger than that. But very strict. You weren't allowed to get in trouble, or you were definitely going to get disciplined by your parents for whatever was going on. You had much more involvement with your parents because, again, you didn't have your phones, games weren't as prevalent then as they were now, where you're still hanging out with your friends or doing stuff with your family for fun. You're a lot less, I guess, self-time then than you have now, and isolation, I guess.
What are your thoughts on involvement in extracurricular activities like sports?
I think they're paramount for people gaining a social aspect of upbringing. I played sports from the time I was 4 until maybe like a couple years ago, and they started the foundation for being able to talk to people, get along, find common ground, work in teams. A lot of that's translated over to work that I do now, just being able to get along with all different kinds of people and understanding personalities. And for kids that are quiet and might not have the same kind of propensity to step outside their shell, making them, or not making them, but finding something that they like to do and interact with kids that have that same kind of enjoyment is really good for relationship building and those kinds of things.
Hi. My name is Angelo DiStefano. I am a male, 52 years old. I am a small business owner and auto mechanic, and I grew up in Washington Township.
What are the social expectations on parents?
I guess the social expectations on parents are to make sure your kids grow up having a good time and learning how to be social, and for adults to go out and be social with other adults and have a good time.
What are family holidays like?
Our family holidays are like a zoo. It's everybody in the family all at the same table, eating, talking loudly, and cutting each other up and making lots of noise.
What are the men's role in pregnancy?
Well, without the man, the woman wouldn't become pregnant. So I guess that's the first role. The second role is to support, provide, and maintain a good home environment for the pregnant woman.
How do you choose your children's name?
Me and my wife both discussed the names before we chose them. My son Lewis is named after my father, and I was named after my grandfather. So my son Lewis should name his son after me, as far as family tradition.
What about your other children? You have two others.
My daughter was named after my grandmother and my wife's grandmother. And my younger son was named after one of our favorite uncles.
What is TV like nowadays compared to how it was in the past?
TV sucks nowadays compared to TV in the past.
Why?
Because we had a lot more shows that were entertaining. There was no poignancy. It was just, losing your mind, sitting there watching something. There was good shows. We had Saturday morning cartoons. We had people like the Hulk and Siegman and the Sea Monsters and Shazam. And we had cartoons early in the morning like Bugs Bunny and the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. And no, we didn't think that we could blow each other up with a bomb.
All right. What is the impact on technology?
Technology is an amazing thing, but I believe it's also creating lazier people that would rather use a piece of equipment instead of going out and doing things with their hands.
All right.
Hi, my name is Louis DiStefano. I'm 75 years old. I was born and raised in South Philadelphia. I'm retired now. I have an automotive center I used to operate. And that's about it right now.
What would you think about technology's impact? Like, how do you feel about it?
With technology is very good. I don't like so many kids on telephones talking all the time on the phone, sitting around the table doing games while we're active at dinner time. I think technology is very good in certain respects.
What would you feed children? Like, what kind of foods would you like? Organic food? Like, what type of foods?
I eat all types of food.
Like,
Steaks.
What would you
meat.
feed? What would you feed kids?
What?
What would you feed kids?
Devil dogs. The kids can eat anything they feel like eating. If they like it, they can eat it. They should eat more vegetables. Okay? Less French fries. That would be helpful. And junk food is terrible. Other than that, they can eat anything they want to eat.
How are you raised compared to how parents raise their kids nowadays?
Oh, I just picked up my grandson from high school. He came out with a pair of shorts on and a t-shirt, freezing. And I said, my mother would have sent me upstairs 3 times to make sure I was dressed before I went out the door. No way would I go out of the house like that.
What age were you married, Pop?
I married at 21 years old.
21 years old.
I was married for 52 years.
What would you consider a typical family dinner?
Well, my wife used to make all 3 different things. We would have a vegetable, a starch, and a meat. Okay, we would have to have all 3 things to of course, a meal.
Okay. And what would you like? What are your thoughts on child's involvement in like extracurricular activities like clubs, sports? What do you think about those?
Sports are good. Today it's crazy today. They depend on the parents too much. They take them here, take them back again. When we were kids, we went and did our own sports. We walked to the place, to the courtyard, to the schoolyards. We did our own thing. Today they got to drive with us, take them, pick them up.
Like, what do you think about like after school, like at the school?
After school, baseball, football, basketball, soccer. They can do anything they really like to do.
Do you think it's good, bad?
Oh, it's very good for them.
Very good?
Yes, it's team effort. They get to know the team guys that are on your team. They get to be friendly with them. No, it's great.
It's great. All right. Thank you, Pop.
Okay.
In conclusion, I feel like much hasn't changed that much in certain standpoints. Definitely the marriage age went
My manager said he got married. Well, people get married around 30 years old, and my grandpa said like 21, around that age. I also believe that most families are still strict like they are today, and a typical family dinner hasn't changed very much. A whole family sits down together. Technology has pretty much impacted everyone the same, and I feel like the older generation doesn't really see it in certain ways as much as the younger generation has. Like my manager said, from a marketing standpoint, it's helped very much. And also, like my dad and grandpa said, communication was very well with technology. Also, I feel like pretty much helping out with like the pregnancy and stuff like that, hasn't really changed much for men. And that concludes my video.